So we finally know the reason why 50 Cent hates his own son. Tales of estranged families aren't anything new. Whether famous or not, many people from all walks of life have dealt with either taking the initiative of cutting people off or cutting ties altogether. Of course, cutting ties with anyone you once called a friend isn't an easy task, but cutting off your own relatives, in this case your own father or son, can take a huge toll on your emotional stability. Rapper Curtis Jackson, aka 50 Cent, was a pretty big deal back in the early 2000s, with hits like Candy Shop and In the Club. Unlike these new so-called rappers today, no shade, who seem to only talk the talk and not necessarily walk the walk, 50's rise to fame wasn't a clear-cut path. He was raised by his grandma, didn't know his father, and would lose his mother by the age of 9. Drugs and things of that sort would enter his life, but a blessing would occur in the year 1997 when he and his high school sweetheart, Shaniqua Tompkins, welcomed their oldest son, Marquise Jackson, into the world. 50 said his life changed for the better after the birth of Marquise, and even stated that he wanted to have the relationship with his son that his own father never had with him. Having a famous rapper at the peak of his career as a father had its perks, and the father and son duo was apparent all throughout Marquise's adolescence. 50 made sure to spoil his son with gifts, placed him in his music videos, and even got his face tattooed on his right bicep. It wouldn't be till around 2008 when things would turn sour after the split of 50 and Shaniqua, and 50's relationship with his son would swerve all the way off track, with accusations of bullying, death threats, neglect, and harassment from 50 to his son. We couldn't help but wonder why exactly 50 and his son's relationship had become so estranged. Is 50 as bad as we think? Or is his ex Shaniqua using their son as ammunition for her own gain? Well, we're about to find out, so stay tuned till the end of the video. Marquise and his look-alike father 50 have been going at it privately and in public for quite some time now, but many people have yet to notice how the beef all seems to correlate back to one specific person, that being Marquise's mother, Shaniqua. Breakups are never easy, but for Shaniqua and 50, they go from a loving relationship for over 20 years since the 90s to downright hating each other after the fact. With a $50 million lawsuit thrown in 50's face by his own baby's mother, you could probably see why things turned out the way they did. But how exactly did 50's son end up being coined his worst enemy? After the breakup of his parents, Marquise still got the chance to see his dad pretty often. Scheduled visitations would take place, but over time, it seemed like Marquise wanted to see his father less and less. An incident at Shaniqua's residence that 50 was paying for, by the way, more on that in another video, took place in 2013 when Marquise was scheduled to spend time with his dad just a few days after 50 had been arrested on domestic violence and vandalism charges, following a dispute with the mother of another one of his kids. Like the usual, 50 pulled up, but when he knocked on the door, no one answered, but he noticed someone taking a peek through the blinds. Confused, 50 sent his son a text notifying him that he was outside and that he saw him peek. Marquise responded with a, "LOL, you frontin' hard body now. How you going to see me when I'm in the basement, LMAO?" And from there, the text exchange went from 1 to 100 real quick, with multiple FUs and insults on 50's end. The convo ended with Marquise saying, "I might be dumb. Come through then. No need to get upset. Stop by and say hello to your son." The "stop and say hello to your son" part must have sent red flags to 50, because it would be revealed later on that the text exchange turned out to be Marquise's mother texting her ex pretending to be her son. The idea of Marquise's new perception of his father, in 50's words, seems to have everything to do with Marquise's mother. Even though they live in a house that 50 pays for, and Marquise had attended private schools in which 50 had also paid tuition for, but again, we'll go into details another time. 50 welcomed his youngest son, Sire, back in 2006, and fans often notice how he always seems to brag and post the son he had with model girlfriend Daphne Joy, but photos of Marquise were nowhere to be found. Some think that Sire's more racially ambiguous look plays a factor as to why the difference in treatment toward his kids is so severe. But as we now know, that isn't necessarily the case since their estranged relationship began later on in Marquise's life. When called out about this, 50 often took to his comments to cuss out anyone bringing him up. In 2015, Marquise had freshly graduated from his high school and brought the celebration online, where he blasted his dad for being absent during the ceremony. 50 responded while making a guest appearance on BET's 106 & Park, claiming that he hadn't received an invitation and that he was in Budapest filming a movie. He went on to say that his relationship with Marquise was being dictated by his mother due to her developing negative energy toward him, going on to say that couples who don't remain friends because one person overinvested emotionally and can't let it go and it develops into hate. 50 went on to say that the reason info about him and his son comes out to the public was because Marquise's mother runs to TMZ and other blogs. 50 posted a pic on his IG of a still shot from his TV show Power of his character Kanan confronting his son. We have to add in the fact that 50's character on the show had murdered his son for betraying him. In response, Marquise posted, "Now if something happens to me, everybody knows who did it. Goofy." 50 continued posting and wrote, "When a baby is a victim of his mom's views of his dad, it's terrible. I have mailed him over $1 million. He's big now. Only 18 months left for support to live off. Then reality sets in. This is real life now. I expect his mom to go crazy now. She don't know what to do. I pray she figure it out. He's grown now. This kid is gonna hate his mother when he realizes what she did to him. He has to make it on his own like I did." Shaking my head. Good luck. Shaniqua was having none of it and made her own response in 50's now deleted post. "You don't have a relationship with my child because you chose not to. You want to bully him, threaten him, and talk about his mother in a disparaging manner? I don't try to mentally abuse my son like you do. Your actions speak for themselves. Who threatens to shoot their son on Instagram?" In 2017, Marquise decided to follow in his dad's footsteps and released his first ever track titled Different, where he talks about the emotional impact 50's words, insults, and overall absence has had on his life. Words kept being exchanged between the father, son, and mother throughout social media, and in 2018, Marquise would tighten the laces on his petty boots, and the heat would be turned all the way up when he posted a picture of himself hanging out with the son of convicted drug lord Supreme McGriff, also known as the main suspect in an assassination plot to murder 50 back in 2005. Like clockwork, as soon as 50 caught wind of this, he responded by saying, "If both of those little N-words got hit by a bus, I wouldn't have a bad day." He later backtracked and wrote, "I have no ill will toward anyone living on this earth. The people Shaniqua's son looks up to and associated with is a reflection of the negative energy he has towards me. I paid his mother $1,360,000 in support to afford him opportunities I never had. They just spent it. Over the years, I repeated to get a job, and now they have to figure it out." Tension between Marquise and his dad had subsided for a bit, with the exception of followers here and there asking 50 where his son was whenever he would post pics of his youngest. But 2020 hit us like a brick, and 50, unprovoked, took to his IG story to share a video of him addressing all of the "Where's your son?" comments, replying back with, "Nah, I heard from 6ix9ine. He's his mother's child now. He's trolling everybody. He's better than Marquise though. I'd take him before I take my actual biological son." Marquise is in fact his father's son because he'd take to respond and basically calls his dad stupid for trying to claim 6ix9ine, or Snitch9 rather. Making an appearance on user Queen's Flip Instagram Live, Shaniqua recalls a time when her and Marquise went to his grandma's funeral a few years back, and there sat 50 and his new fling at the time in the front row. She says, when they went up to view the casket, Marquise turned to his dad and kissed him on the forehead. Also, during an interview with V103, Shaniqua was asked if she had invited 50 to her son's graduation, to which she doesn't directly deny, but you can pretty much guess what the answer was. She also tiptoes around questions about Marquise's school tuition and admits to being used to a certain lifestyle 50 had provided for her and her son. Yeah, take that as you will. No worries, we'll be making a whole video breaking down Shaniqua's and 50's relationship, so subscribe and be on the lookout. It's safe to say that Marquise and his dad haven't quite amended their relationship, but only time will tell. One thing we know for sure is that this back and forth, he said, she said fiasco, as we all know, sucks for all parties involved. But no one is more affected than the child stuck in the middle. What do you think needs to happen for this father and son to get back on good terms? Let us know what you think in the comments down below.